Hiya, and welcome back to Password, the game that teaches us that Dave is just done. He's done. Anyways, let's just hop right in. We will never... I don't even know, actually, I don't even know. I got up and Sel followed behind me as I headed towards the dining room. As he said, Dean and Haas were sitting there. Thanatos splayed out on his back at the far end of the table. What's wrong with him? Don't know. Said he was just going to sit this one out and wait. But, like that, though. The effect of Buff Shoichi on my brain. The effect of that entire fucking game on my brain. But like that, though. Music room... Amethyst, do we have beef? Do we have beef? Because I had genuinely forgotten about Music Rum Club. Do we have beef or something? But in all seriousness, no. I get it. I honestly get it. I honestly get it. Gotta keep humbling. Gotta keep getting humbled. But like that, though? He's completely unresponsive, so we just figured it's best to leave him alone. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. I was doing a joke, Amethyst. I was doing a joke. Don't worry about it. I was doing a joke. It's best to just leave him alone. Alright, so what now? So I'll bring you up to speed? More or less. How long exactly was I out for? How long have you been waiting? 3 hours or so? To be honest, you were left on your own for a little bit, but for the most part I've been in that room with you waiting. I sat down and rubbed my face. Dean slid a cup of coffee over to me and I eyed it warily. So, Memphis. What are we doing about that? Just so I understand this, we can't leave now because Thanatos says we'll run into him and that leads to everyone else dying, right? More or less. We both looked over his way, but he stayed on his back, waving us off. Which is why we have to have someone meet Memphis tomorrow. Again, another wave from Thanatos indicated we were correct. What does that involve, though? Does that mean someone needs to go out and kill him, or just go and talk? I think the bigger question is what the goal is. Beyond keeping everyone alive? I mean, more the specific goal of interacting with Memphis. I see we have a few options, but... But? He's the head of the Mafia, right? So the options are either... I realized what I was going to say and trailed off. Was Thanatos' intention to offer one of us up as a sacrifice so the rest of us could get away? Simply, the interactions with Memphis can either go good or bad. Good in this case where he doesn't kill the person he's talking with. Bad in that he does. Hey, daylight savings time, it always leaves you confused. I get that. That's maybe being a bit too simple. What if it takes that person hostage? I would lump that in with the bad outcome, if only that it doesn't get everyone out alive easily. But if it gets the most people out, is that acceptable? Of course not! I jumped up with a growl. We've lost Orlando and Tyson. Benson and Oswin are both dead, and you want to potentially risk someone as well. But what's the alternative? Yeah, we get everyone out, but... Is there even a way to do that now? Sal's voice went quiet, but when he spoke, he had our attention. It was the way he said it that made me shrink back down into my chair and left the others at a loss. If we factor in Roswell's condition, regardless of what we come to as far as a decision on how we feel about that, there's a big chance that he's not going to make the trek down the mountain. He shook his head, breathing out and then closing his eyes. Roswell would get himself killed. I dare say the same would be the case for you as well, Haas. Dean is a gamble, the same as Dave. So the correct decision, to maximize the amount of survivors, is to send me. What? I don't understand. How is that correct? My past with Memphis, mostly. He's going to hesitate to kill anyone. It's likely to be me. At the very least, I don't think he'd shoot first and ask questions second if he sees me. That's insane! It's not insane. I may have only crossed his path a few times, but his bias towards what he perceives as strength plays to our advantage. If it means getting those I care about, my friends, off this mountain. This is fucked up. We don't even know what's going to happen. Just that he's going to show up, right? If we can trust Thanatos, we know it's sometime after midnight. That would be the measure of tomorrow. Okay. Oh, God. And you're just going to stay up all night, waiting for him to arrive? Oh, Dean is mad. Maybe not outside, but yes, that was my plan. And the rest of us? I'll leave in your care, Dean. You're the oldest of those remaining once I'm occupied with Memphis. I looked at them all in turn, and the decision started to sink in. It started as a chuckle before it became manic, full-blown laughter. This was insane. 2 friends already gone, now potentially a 3rd and 4th queued up, depending on how things went with Sal. You're kidding. Dave, take a deep breath. I did, but all it did was fuel more laughter. Dean got up and wandered closer, dropping one of his hands atop my head between my ears. It was a contact alone that made me choke. When he went to slowly pat me, I broke down, starting to cry. Hiya. So my plan for now is to get some sleep, then be on watch starting from midnight. Are you 3 going to be alright to question Roswell? I don't like that we're treating him like a criminal. He did kill someone. In self-defense. Or so he claims. Innocent until proven guilty, but we need to know the facts of what happened. Yeah, it's only fair. But I don't know the first thing about interrogating someone. Leave it to me, I'll know if he's lying. We're going to unbarricade the room. Do what you must, but if the worst case scenario is that he's guilty, don't go putting yourself at risk needlessly. We broke off as we climbed the stairs. Sal headed towards his room. It was like they described, a bookcase and a side table seemingly blocking Roswell's door. Roswell? I knocked a part of the door I could reach and waited. Not answering, is he? No? Is he unconscious? Oh, let me think about that for a moment. If only I was in there to know for certain. You mean you don't know? That's why I said going to talk to him never matters. He doesn't respond back then, and now, well... The sound of the door creaking open caught my attention. Roswell, you're awake? No response came, and I looked to Dean and Haas for any indication of what we should do. I'll be excusing myself then. Oh, God. Thanatos scrambled through the gap in the door, disappearing into Roswell's room. Roswell, you there? Why am I locked in my room? Buddy, do you remember what happened after Dean brought you downstairs? I remember. So, what happened? Can you tell us? I told you what I know already. I was looking for the bombs. Benson came into the room, pulled out his gun, and tried to shoot me. I shot him back, and, well, now he's dead. Where did the gun come from? It was in the room already. And which room was it? The conservatory. Did he say anything? How did he miss the shot? I don't know. Roswell, I can hear you lying through this door. I'm not lying!
It's time to drink water. It's time to drink water. It's time to drink water. It's time to drink water.
Thanatos' snickering was audible enough. He was making no effort in hiding it. So Benson just came up to the conservatory and just pulled out a gun? He said something first, so we talked for a bit, but I didn't expect a gun to be pulled out. What'd you two talk about? The bombs, Jack's arrival, more importantly, you wanted to know my alibi for the night Orlando died. I gulped, looking to the others. Well? Dean looked to Haas, and I did too. His frown didn't fade, and his eyes looked like they were trying to stare through the barricade in Roswell's room. And what was the alibi, Roswell? I was in the house. I ran into Dave before he went running outside. Where in the house? I lingered for a bit, but I was downstairs for a little bit, looking at the vault. All right. Don't leave us in suspense. Roswell, one last question. Did you kill Oswin? No, I didn't kill him. Haas stepped back, brow furrowed. Something was bothering him, and it seemed as though Dean noticed too. We'll be back, Roswell. Take all the time you need. We wandered a little ways down the hall before Dean stopped Haas suddenly. And what? He said he didn't kill Oswin. He had an alibi, and I do remember him in the foyer when I came racing downstairs. I don't get it. Yeah, everything sounded like he was telling the truth after we called him out on his lie, but it was off somehow. Maybe because I couldn't see him. Maybe because it was just his health, but what? You've watched TV before, right? Sure. Ever seen a crime drama? This would be the part where the detectives go into that side room after interrogating a witness and say, he's lying, but I don't know why. Acting on a hunch in the face of no evidence. So you have a hunch he's lying. I don't know what to think. All I know is that Roswell isn't being entirely honest with us. Where does that leave us? I don't know. Shy of waiting for Sal's meeting with Memphis, I don't know what's left for us. I guess that's all we can do, right? The three of us went and watched a movie, or maybe not watched so much as just had something playing while we sat there occasionally looking at each other. We were all worried, none of us were certain as to what was happening, and personally I was sick of waiting. Eventually we called the day there, skipping dinner as well from the lack of hunger any of us expressed, and we just turned in instead. Three of us split off almost without a word, just wry smiles in an attempt to keep us all feeling positive about the day to come. Not that it was doing much good. I felt jittery in my stomach for any number of reasons. How we questioned Roswell, how Sal was meeting up with Memphis in the morning. The bombs. I groaned and collapsed on my bed, remembering the bombs. We had found them all, but in the event of finding out Benson had died, the immediate risk had been left by the wayside. Rolling onto my side, I wondered where Thanatos had ended up. Last I saw, he went into Roswell's room for some unknown reason. Didn't even think to ask him what he was doing or why he got in there. Why he was going in there. Maybe he just wanted to see what was going on inside the room for some more data on his experiment. Like he hadn't seen it in another timeline before. Who knows? There was no point in thinking about it. I'd get an answer in the morning. Sal would meet up with Memphis, things with Roswell would clear up, and we could all just go home. Oh, if it was only going to be as simple as that. As I slept, the events of the previous day played through my head. Jack showing up, the bombs, Benson being shot, and then Roswell being confined to his room. Memphis was coming. So many things were going wrong, and there was no telling what we could do to still make it out alive. There was one thing that was bothering me, something that I just had to go and see for myself, as it was enough to rouse me from sleep. Something didn't add up, something I had to see for myself after what Haas had said about when we questioned Roswell. Not only that, it's bombs. But not only that, the sequence of events didn't line up well either. Where did Roswell get a gun? How exactly did things play out up there? I could smell it the moment I opened the door. Blood covering the floor and Benson's body lying on its side in the middle of the floor. My hand hovered over the light switch, but I opted instead to stay in the darkness. The vague outline of Benson was enough with what moonlight was filtering in from the window. Okay, it'll be fine. Edging forward, I tried to piece together what had happened. Ran into Benson in the basement, then he sent me through the passage to the library. Then from there, he must have come up here and spoken to Roswell or something. Talking to yourself? What the fuck? I almost jumped upon hearing Thanatos speak, though I couldn't see him. Well, not as if sleeping is a good option these days, huh? Yay. Didn't think I'd see you in here tonight. Couldn't sleep. And you thought to come here. He climbed up into view by the window, looking to the outside world and waving me off over his shoulder. Really messed up thing to do, Dave. I had to know why it didn't make sense in my head how this happened. Well, what I see makes it pretty obvious. Why don't you go have a look yourself? What part? Oh, gee, I don't know, Dave. Why don't you have a look at those weapons on the floor? The guns, you mean? You'll see for yourself. Just have a look. I pulled my eyes away from his silhouette and towards the weapons on the floor. They looked like guns for sure, but upon closer inspection, something was off. One was certainly a gun, but the other... Thanatos? He disappeared from the window and reappeared nearby, skulking quickly through the dark to stand near the gun on the ground. That's Benson's gun, right? Without the normal silencer, yes. Where did it go? Why wasn't it on his gun? Must have taken it off. Sure, but what about this other gun? I reached out for the other. I realized what it was. This wasn't a gun, but an injector that Oswin used. Wait, what? Why is this here? Where's the other gun? What other gun? If Roswell used one to kill Benson and Benson had one to threaten Roswell... I trailed off, the comments sinking in the longer Thanatos added nothing to the conversation. What happened in this room? Ask Roswell, he'd probably know. Benson was shot by Roswell, but the only gun here is Benson's, which means Roswell shot Benson with his own gun somehow? That could be what happened. Just what happened? Gee, Dave, if only there was someone you could ask. I know. Roswell. If you know, why are you still here? It's the middle of the night. Roswell's probably asleep, plus all of this is still just sinking in. Oh, yeah, alright, that's fair. My eyes caught... My eyes caught sight of Benson's body sprawled out on the ground. While mostly shrouded by the dark, I could tell he was dead. And a chill ran down my spine. I had to get out of here. Here or there? Get out of there. I left without saying a word more to Thanatos, or even looking back to the weapons on the floor. I left everything essentially as I'd found it, but I had questions. So many questions, just no way to properly put them into words. A quiet whine left my mouth as I collapsed on the ground just outside the conservatory, covering my face. Voice mostly hurt. Oh no, my voice isn't hurt. Quiet whine left my mouth as I collapsed on the ground just outside the conservatory, covering my face. I could just return to bed and get more sleep and pretend, if only for a moment, that things were normal. We were far past normal in any sense of the word. I was ready to just accept things as they were handed to me, more so than usual. Carefully, I wandered over to Roswell's door, or rather the barricade built up in front of it, seemingly no different to how it had looked before we turned in for the night. Roswell? My voice was held low as I called out again, leaning closer to the door and knocking lightly on the part I could reach. Moments passed before I pulled back, having gotten no reply. Looking around the floor to what rooms I could see and thinking about the ones that I couldn't, I thought to those still within the house. Dean, Sal, Haas, Roswell, and myself. That's all. Sure, the others were still here, but they weren't people I could go and seek comfort in. Not people that I could go and talk to about my worries. Heading downstairs, I sat back down so my feet were resting on the floor of the entryway, looking towards the front door. Had Memphis expected an explosion, given we'd found the bombs? Had he accepted that Jack wasn't going to be coming back and was just waiting until morning? There was the option that he'd run. Any smart person would if they were able, but it's not as if that option was available to us. That's what I kept telling myself anyway. I could run off on my own and get off the mountain just fine. I could just leave and be done with it all. Sacrificing the rest of my friends for whatever was to happen, plus giving up on bringing other Tyson and Orlando home too. Dave sat bolt upright upon hearing my name, but I wasn't convinced that I was only hearing things. The way my fur stood on edge and that feeling of being watched made me look behind me, then down any corridor I could see from my spot on the base of the stairs. Hello? My head was starting to hurt. Immediately I thought of Thanatos, but reasoned that it must be from the lack of sleep given how restless I'd found myself. Even considering how I'd been put under by Thanatos, but I wasn't keeping that as a decent sleep. I returned to bed and fell asleep immediately, just letting the exhaustion take me. Roswell's who I needed to talk to in order to make sense of all this. He had all the answers, or at least that's what I told myself. In front of me, I could see the place I wanted to return to the most, a familiar street, a familiar house, all of which I'd known all my life to be safe. Down the street was where Tyson lived, or once lived. House next to mine, a long time ago, was where Roswell called home. Somewhere far beyond the street was Dean, Haas, Orlando, and Sal. Each of them had homes of their own, and I wondered if my friends were dreaming of their own safe places. My neck and jaw started to hurt, a dull ache that seemed to come from a wound that didn't exist. A place I didn't recognize was filtering into my head, overlaying on top of my house. As I tried to focus on it, it disappeared, and its place came another sharp pang of pain up my side, making me feel cold. Then it all disappeared at once, the cold, the sights, the sounds, all into just a black silence. What greeted me next when I opened my eyes was the very place I fell asleep. No better rested, no reassurance things were going to be fine, just that I was still here in this mansion when I'd rather be home. I rolled out of bed and got dressed, walking into the hall and looking down to Roswell's still barricaded room. Truly, I was telling myself to go get coffee first, that Roswell wouldn't be awake, but I pressed on regardless. Quick knock on his door later and found myself listening close to his door, almost flinching when I heard the doorknob move. Roswell? Dave, what's wrong? I could barely make out what part of him was peeking out from behind his door thanks to the barricade, but at least he was awake. I had questions about what happened. Oh, is now really a good time to get into that? I haven't had coffee, but it's been stopping me from sleeping. Alright, well, what did you want to know? Can you tell me what happened again? Walk through exactly what happened before Dean found you. There was a pause. Maybe he was thinking it over, maybe he was just going to say no. Or as I went to ask if he heard me, he spoke. It's the same as I told you yesterday. Benson arrived in the room, pulled out his gun, and tried to shoot me. And then you fired back. Yeah. There were only 2 shots that I heard, but given there was only one gun that could fire bullets in that room, I had to assume they came from the same gun. With what gun? One that was in the room already? That's right. But Roswell. That can't be what happened last night. I just checked the room before, and there wasn't 2 guns. He didn't respond, but I could hear his fingers lightly drumming against the door. So how did Benson die? Why would you lie about it? That's what I want to know. I spun around and saw Dean and Haas standing there, tired but definitely awake. How long have you two been standing there? Long enough. That's not an answer. Well, when you said that's not how things could have happened, then you said you checked the room. Well, did anyone else? No. I haven't either. Can we assume Sal didn't as well? Sal didn't as well what? Oh, hi, Sal. Did you go check the conservatory since everything happened? He continued to wander over to us, stopping beside Dean and shaking his head. I had no reason to believe Dean would lie about Benson's passing. So no one else has seen Actually, wait. Dean, I have a question for you. Might? Well, sure, fire away. So when you retrieved Roswell, you saw 2 guns, right? That's right. But that doesn't make sense. You're sure there were 2. I didn't exactly stop to check, but they looked like it. I was a little busy looking between who was in the room and didn't have the time to really, get a good look. When I checked, there was only 1. I swear that I saw 2. At the very least, it was 2 gun-looking things on the ground. That's a very big thing to just overlook. I get how he would have missed that, but the bigger problem is what hole it puts in Roswell's story. What hole? If Benson had a gun and fired, but there was only 1 gun, how did Roswell shoot him? Well, he didn't have a gun on him when I arrived. I would have noticed that at least. Even if it was tucked into the back of his shorts. And everyone would have noticed if there when he was unconscious and we moved him to his room. Kinda feels like Roswell didn't shoot him after all, huh? Even though we said he did. Well, something's not adding up. As we were discussing things I'd forgotten, Roswell was also present and looked back to the barricade cautiously, wondering where to go from here. Roswell, you've been listening, right? Yeah. Hiya. So, what happened up there? Because what you said happened couldn't have. You're sure? If there was only 1 gun in that room, what was the other item? An injector gun. So, it was a gun! Shut the fuck up, Dean. Not one that would make a loud bang or potentially kill someone. Unless there's poison or something in it, but we absolutely heard 2 shots. But if that's the case, then, if Roswell was telling the truth, where would this 4th gun have come from? 4th? Benson had his own, likely the one he threatened Roswell with. He gave Oswald's to me, and Dean had Dominic's. And we're sure that Benson had his own gun. If the other thing was just an injector, he could have gotten one easily enough. He said yesterday that Benson tried to shoot him. I don't imagine he would have just pulled his gun out and not shot. He did, though! We still love you, Dean. We still love you, but you're not smart. You're not smart. He did, though. Hiya. I don't get it. That makes 2 of us. Not that, just now. Roswell wasn't lying. Benson pulled out his gun and shot. How can you be so sure of that? Doesn't that create a problem, then, where Roswell would have just had the injector? Not if you consider one other option, which makes less sense in practice but resolves the amount of guns. And that is Benson shooting himself. But Roswell said that he killed him. If he committed suicide, then. All eyes went to the barricade expecting an answer from Roswell. But none came, instead all of us feeling uneasy and confused. We really don't have much time to be worrying about the specifics of this. We don't? But it doesn't make sense. Did Roswell kill Benson or not? The reason why I say it doesn't matter is because in every likelihood we'll have Memphis arriving today, potentially with backup. Even with Jack and Dominic out of the picture, there's no telling if there are any others out in the woods, or if he didn't go and call in some more help when Jack didn't come back. Not to mention when the bombs didn't go off either. If he was the one that said to plant them, he might have been using the explosion as a sign to leave. So he's still here. There's very little chance that he just left, especially when he's lost 2 of his associates already. It implies what he's after is worth defending. Which means that the next person to arrive, be it with company or not, will be Memphis. Of that, I'm certain. Then what do? Run? Hide? To make things worse, we still need to figure out what we're doing with Roswell. I have a contingency, though I can't do it while I'm barricaded in my room. Will it stop him from hurting us? If it works, we don't need to worry about him anymore. I'm noticing how you didn't actually answer Dave's question there. Because I don't know!
Who's Dean again? Sorry, head empty today.
Dean's the bear. He's the one in the plaid. Fucking... Oh god, why did I think of Chowder? Please tell me someone watched Chowder. Because this shirt is giving me Chowder vibes. Because I don't know. We don't have a lot to work with after all. There's another option, though. It's, not great. Oh, did the stream die? Did it die? We leave without Roswell by the main road? Less than ideal, but it's an option. I knew Roswell was still listening, and here we were considering leaving him behind. He didn't offer anything on that point, though the implication was heavy. Can we hide? Where? Why? I don't know. We don't know what happened, and we're looking at leaving Roswell behind, plus the others. Well, what do you want to do, Dave? Dean, I don't think this is an appropriate line of questioning. What I want to do? Yeah, like right now. What does he want to do? What should we do with everything going on? We are in Orlando's route. We are still in his route. We are almost done with it. We're still there. Everything going on. I don't know. Here's a question. Is there any way we can ensure that Roswell can make it over the gap in the road? There's no guarantee that any of us will. Just that some have better odds than others. But the alternative is just wait and see what happens. Which sounds like a dumb idea when we know who's arriving. We should go. Is there an option where only some of us go and others stay behind? You mean to go get help? Do you think it's likely someone's going to make it to safety and find help and come back equipped enough to deal with Memphis before it's too late? Jeez! You need to settle down, I think. Thanatos? Figured I'd give you guys some time to figure things out, but no, you're still here talking about it. Are we running out of time? Let me put it this way. You're not gaining any time. I looked over to Sal and Dean, the two of them having a silent conversation with one another before slight gestures with their heads and eye movements. By comparison, Haas's attention flicked between Thanatos and the barricade in front of Roswell's door. What should we do? If I can make this easier, I should stay behind. If anything happens, I'm dying anyway, but if my plan works, I can deal with Memphis. How? He has a plan. Dean and Sal wandered off, heading into Dean's bedroom and out of sight. Haas nodding to himself a bit, retreated into his. The doors were left open. I could hear them rummaging, looking for things or packing a bag. It was hard to say. That's not helpful. Deal with Memphis how? Nothing short of killing him will do, but just don't. You sure about that, Dave? I don't know what's going on. I don't know why Roswell decided to lie about what happened in the conservatory. I don't know what his plan is or if it's going to be dangerous, and there's no telling if it'll even work. You don't have any faith. I just want to run. I want to leave. And you're fine with that? Leaving poor Lana behind? And poor Tyson, ha! I clenched my fist and quickly crossed the distance between us. One motion, I grabbed him and squeezed tight. Don't! Just don't! What are you going to do, Dave? How can you possibly stop me? I could throw you out a window or down the stairs or any number of things. And that accomplish what? It's just a second body for me. It wouldn't kill me at all. It'd make me feel better. Dave, think this over. What if you need him? It's his fault Tyson's dead, that Orlando is dead. If he's so set on letting our friends die, then what good is he? Then kill me, Dave. Or at least try. Did it before even thinking about it, throwing him over the railing down to the foyer below. The sound was unpleasant, like a clunk followed by something else breaking. Mostly just how it echoed up from downstairs. Thanatos? And I turned to Roswell's barricade, sighing quiet. Wait, sighing quiet or staying quiet? Staying quiet. Dave, anyone? I'm here. And? What was that sound? You didn't... I did. No idea if he's broken now or not, but, well. Oh. I could hear the sadness in his voice. I couldn't figure out why. Yeah, Tyson and Orlando are dead. And the Oink Oink's going to die. Poor Bacon. But I couldn't figure out why. I'm just going to ask one more time, Roswell. What happened between you and Benson? You wouldn't believe me if when I told you so. It's just easier. What I didn't expect to him to do was just to close the door. I didn't expect that he'd end the conversation without clarifying another lie, maybe not, but nothing at all. Nothing at all. Carefully, I wandered away in a daze, heading downstairs to see if Thanatos was indeed broken. As he edged closer, I could see him moving, though, with sharp, jittery movements, as if each of his limbs were being controlled by different people. I watched for a few moments before he fell still again, dropping to the floor and the light in his eyes going dim. Are you just playing around or are you dead? Thinking about it, I picked him up and he was limp. Heavy but limp, as if something inside had been broken. Dave? What are you doing? Looks like Thanatos is broken. Oh no! Well, there's nothing we can really do about it, is there? Dean held his hand out for the rat and I handed him over. Turning it over in his hand, he seemed to make note of what seemed off, nodding to himself. Fixable with rat tools, I think. Though how did this happen? Did he fall? I threw him over the railing. Well, no wonder he's broken! If I'm being frank, I'm surprised that such a thing would break him. Well, he's still only built as if he's a toy. Landing the wrong way will still do a lot of damage. It's not like he's going to be of use to us anymore, even if fixed. Throwing him over the banister is going to do that. So what are you two doing? You wanted off for only a few moments, but... About that, we're leaving. You are, the both of you? Indeed, though while we cannot force you to come, I, for one, would recommend it. And just leave. What about Tyson and Orlando? What about Haas and Roswell? Yeah, so that's something I'm still deciding for myself. You are? It's not what I expected. Why the hesitation? Something about Roswell's story is bothering me. It's bothering Dave, too, but there has to be a reason. Don't get me wrong. I fully intend on following. I just might lag behind a little. You're just going to talk to him? Something like that. I'd say that we could wait, but given how the past couple of days have gone... The sooner the better. I don't quite know how much of a morning person Memphis is. As in he could sleep in or be up at dawn and already making his way here, especially after what Thanatos said about not gaining time. So the plan is, I suppose, Sal and I will head to the road and try and call for help the moment we get a signal. Anyone that we can get a hold of. Ideally, we'll have everyone present and we can make our escape and have a lot more resources available to us upon a return. So, coming back for Roswell, Orlando, and Dyson? Of course! Okay.
It's time to drink water.
But in order for it to have a chance, it requires us to
It's
leave.
time to drink water. It's time to drink water. It's time to drink water.
Requires us to leave. And you're sure you're staying, Haas? Not for long, but yes. Now, Ross, now the bacon didn't die yet. I call him the bacon as a form of love. Like, don't get mad at me for calling him bacon. I call him bacon because it's a form of love. I love him.
Yeah.
That could not have been timed better, Amethyst. That could not have been timed better. Not for long, but yes. You can't stay here by yourself. What if something happens? If you want to stay, then you're more than welcome to. Bacon affectionately. All the affection. I'm not staying for all that long or planning on it anyway. Then I'll stay too. If it's only for a little bit, we should stick together. Safety numbers and all that. Dean passed Thanatos back to me and looked over to Sal. Again, they had that silent conversation before both of them looked to us. Well, say you both soon. Didn't feel right watching them go. It didn't feel right watching two of my friends disappear out of the front door and out of sight, leaving me alone with Haas. We should have been leaving together. All of us, we stand the bacon. We better be quick. If we're quick enough, we might be able to catch up to them before they even hit the end of the driveway. It's a long driveway, so I'd hope so. Come on, we have a border question. The sooner we get this done, the sooner we can leave. We started to head upstairs, and I paused about midway up, wondering just what I'd be able to take. What I'd be able to come back to get, and how long it'd take to get to that point. What's wrong? Nothing, just No, don't worry about it. He kept walking, maybe just not wanting to get into it. In no time, we were back outside Roswell's room. And Haas reached through and knocked on his door. You're obviously still in there, Roswell, so open up, we need to talk. The door creaked open slowly, Roswell's voice coming through from the other side.
It was already open. Because I was trying to listen in on anything that might be happening. Did I hear correctly to Dean and Sal?
They left, yeah.
Oh.
Look, Roswell, things are screwed up, but we're leaving. People have died and no one's putting up with it anymore. Even Dave isn't trying to convince us to stay.
When?
As soon as you're done telling me and Dave what the hell you're up to. Haas ran his hand through his mane, breathing in deep. No more lies, no more playing around. You can come with us or take your chances for when Memphis arrives. But if you want to come, we need answers.
What did you want to know?
What happened in the conservatory? What happened that ended with Benson dying?
I said before you wouldn't believe me if I told you, so why are we doing this again?
Because this time, I'm asking. If Dave won't believe you, then maybe I will. Roswell scoffed, chuckling to himself on the other side of the door.
I don't think that's likely.
Try us.
You know, given Dean and Sal have already left, I don't have much of a choice, do I?
Of course you have a choice. Don't tell us and don't come, or try and maybe you can come.
Well, Benson showed up to the conservatory and pulled out his gun. I was searching the bookshelf and the couches for any other bombs.
So far, that makes sense.
He asked me what I was doing, I told him, and then he trained his gun on me. But then he said, this is for my son, and shot himself right in the head.
What happened next, up until Dean came and got you?
I didn't know what to do, but grabbed an injector that was nearby. I didn't have a weapon otherwise.
But he shot himself. Why would you need a weapon?
I wasn't thinking, but it was so surreal that I went over and kicked his gun away just in case, but then it sank in just how wrong it was, and I dropped the injector right there. Backed into the corner, and, well...
Dave, we're leaving. What? He's lying. I don't get why, but he's lying about his recount of what happened. Do you know what he's lying about? I looked to the door and Roswell was quiet, possibly listening in, but he wasn't arguing against what Haas was saying so far. For starters, remember, we heard 2 gunshots. Why was there only 1 in Roswell's story? Well, Roswell? No response, even after waiting for nearly a minute. Alright, if you're not going to talk, I'm taking Dave out of here. Yeah, okay.
Are you sure that's a good idea?
Well, I'm convinced you're not being honest with us, and there's no reason why you should be lying, and frankly, I've had enough. Haas marched towards his room and disappeared out of sight. Took one last look at the barricade before following Haas. He was already looking around his room, picking up things and shoving them into his pockets. What are you doing? Trying to think, getting essentials that I can't live without. Like your phone? Well, and stuff too, yeah. He dropped onto his bed, rubbing his face. I don't get it, I'm so confused what's going on with Roswell, but we can't afford to stick around and find out. How come? You said he's lying, but... That's just it, he's lying through a mission. Everything he said, read as truth. He's leaving something out deliberately. Why did Benson shoot himself? Why did he do it for his son? And why did Roswell lie about it? Exactly! Not that it matters, we're out of here, it's not worth risking it. Can we just wait a minute maybe? For what, Dave? It just feels so wrong to leave things like this. It feels wrong to just not know the answers. You have an idea on how to get those answers? Because I don't. I'm tired, I want to go home, I want to see my brother and sister again. He stood suddenly, placing his hands on my shoulders. It's not worth it, Dave. But we've got to do something, right? We can't just, can we? Just give up, Dave. Huh? If Russell had respect for us, for any of us, he'd be honest. Orlando and Tyson are dead. Benson is dead. Dominic and Jack are dead. Even Oswin is dead. And even with all that, he's insisting on not telling us the truth. But, listen to me, Dave. Take a few moments to breathe, grab what you need to take with you, and let's go catch up with Sal and Dean, alright? Only a few moments, that's all we get? Look, Dave, do we have time for me to say goodbye to Tyson or Orlando? Are you sure that's what you need right now? Who knows when I'll be back? Who knows when I'll get to see them again? He groaned and went limp, shaking his head. Alright, fine. I'll wait by the front door, just try not to be long, alright? I rushed to my room, at first knowing what I wanted to grab before slowing down to a halt. Been in the house for weeks and finally leaving. Not after a happy holiday, not after a last hurrah, just after so much death. You heard about these things happening on the news, the tragic events that happened, you never think that would happen to you. Especially so with your father and the police. Eventually I was ready and headed downstairs to say goodbye. Haas seemed antsy as I passed him in the foyer, but I couldn't blame him. I left Thanatos on the dining table, having realized I was still carrying him around after Dean passed him off to me. I didn't want to take him, or even need to take him. He was better left behind. My hand on the freezer door, I couldn't bring myself to go in. Minutes ticked by as I tried to bring myself to go in, to say goodbye to my friends that wouldn't be coming with us. I don't know how long I was standing there, but the moment I stepped away, I was resolved. I would come back for them. I would come back once things were more under control. Fuck! But that sound from somewhere far off made my blood run cold. Haas! Haas was peeking out the front door, snapping his shut when I came running into the foyer. You heard it too? It wasn't, was it? It couldn't be. I don't know, but I have a bad feeling about this. So what do we do? Did Dean and Sal make it out alright? I don't know. What do we do? I don't know. Okay. We need to get out of here. We need to get somewhere safe. What? And we need to bring Roswell, otherwise he's just going to be in danger. Are going upstairs without even thinking about it with Haas close behind. Woman started to shift something away from Roswell's door and successfully started to help. though only until the piece of furniture was out of the way before stopping. Dave, wait. No! He grabbed me by the arm, hard. Listen to me. Are you sure about this? What else are we meant to do? I continued to pull things away from Roswell's door and then pushed it open. Roswell, help me move this last thing from your side so we can get you out. Only after we'd toppled the bookshelf in a way to let Roswell climb over it to freedom did I realize just how much the others had worked to keep him in one place.
What's happening?
We're leaving, together. Dave blindsided me with the decision, but we have to go. We heard a gunshot and that can only spell trouble.
From which direction?
You think we thought that far ahead? Well, with how it echoes around here, who can say?
Well, chances are if someone's firing a gun, it would have to be from the direction of the main road, surely.
That's where Dean and Sal went. Which means they could be in trouble or worse.
You mean dead?
That is not the kind of thing to be saying when trying to avoid panicking, Roswell. You know, we did only hear one gunshot, right? If they did get into trouble with Memphis, then... Think one of them still might be okay?
Alternatively, one of them shot Memphis and it's safe. They both had guns, right?
That's true! I don't feel completely solid on that idea, but what if we go and look only to find it was a trap? What if we go and we can all leave right now?
Well, at the very least, you might be able to leave. I don't think I'm crossing that gap safely.
God, why does it have to be such a rough decision to make? If Memphis fired his gun, we're in danger staying here. If there was someone else, then it should be safe.
You're sure that it has to be just one of those options? If anyone else, even someone else on the mountain, misfired their gun, could complicate things.
What do you mean? That just means it's safe, right?
Not exactly. Consider how he reacted to the gunshot. If Dean and Sal heard the gunshot thinking it happened here, he might come back. If Memphis heard it, he might arrive sooner. Who knows?
So what, you want us to stay here?
Oh, I have no idea what the right call is. Just that whatever gets decided upon needs to be properly considered against all other options.
Well, I'd like to know if Dean and Sal are fine. Plus, if there was only one shot, maybe it's safe. And if it isn't, then they might need help.
The other thing to consider is that if they've heard the gunshot and started to come back, if we meet them midway, then escaping from there would be safe than having just come from the main road after all.
I don't like this. I really don't like this. Well, we can't stay here. That has to be the wrong decision.
So the road or the woods?
The road it is. Getting lost in the woods with any number of goons lurking in there is just a bad idea, especially when we have no way of navigating it. Roswell started climbing back into his room, calling over his shoulder.
Dave, go grab Benson's gun. It might be needed depending. I'm just going to grab something for the road and then we can get going.
Haas headed on ahead and I detoured to grab the gun. I don't know if it was loaded or how to check, and holding it felt wrong. Having a weapon like this was bound to be better than not having it. He was waiting outside already when I approached, having tucked the gun away in the back of my pants I could see in a movie so it was out of sight. Roswell seemed to have beaten me there and as well, holding a bag of candy, oddly shaped balls wrapped in a bright orange wrapper. Sorry, I'm ready. You better be quick, let's get going.
It feels kind of strange leaving like this, but...
Strange? Strange? That's the best you can describe it as?
Feels strange. Not that it is strange. If anything, it's kind of awful, but we don't really have much scope to ask for much else.
I could feel the look Haas was giving Roswell. He didn't trust him, that much was clear, but started to walk away with Roswell following behind. As I continued to walk away, I looked back at the house. A vacation now finally coming to a close. It wasn't a leisurely walk, but rather we were powering along just before we could call it a jog. Barely talking would have been generous, and it was closer to complete silence outside the sound of our feet landing on the ground. Haas led the way, followed close by Roswell and me bringing up the rear. No sign of Dean or Sal, though we still had a ways to go. On and on we continued until Haas came to a stop suddenly, Roswell almost bumping into him from behind. Hear footsteps coming towards us. There was the very last person we wanted to see. Hi, bitch. How are you? Did you slay? I love the shirt.
Yeah.
Is that bracelet new? Did we forget to mention that you're a horrible father? You know what? You know what? I'm not even going to pretend to look nice. That shirt does not complement your skin color. Those pants make you look fat, and you do not pull off those suspenders. The fedora makes you look like a douchebag, and that bracelet, oh my god, that bracelet, you fucking Shadow the Hedgehog wannabe bitch. Fuck you. He didn't even pause, just wandering up closer to us with a gun in hand. No blood. That didn't make his cold stare any easier. I could see Haas trying to run, but his feet wouldn't let him. I trembled for a bit before remembering the gun tucked behind me, but I dared not move. Roswell, however, seemed to be the most calm, taking just one step forward. And one more thing, actually, a couple more things. Fucking raptor talons on whatever nails. That fucking beard makes you look like a goddamn Discord moderator. That nose right there, like a and those horns, oh my god, those fucking horns. You do not pull off the fucking horns. Shave them off. You fucking, oh god, that's actually going a bit too far. What I was going to say is going a bit too far. Obviously, I hate him, but I'm not going to go that far. Like, damn. Okay, you know what? No, that's still going too far. That is still going too far. But I don't want to, I was going to compare him to Chris Chan. I was going to call him Chris Chan. But that's going a bit too far. That is going a bit too far. And why the actual fuck did you show up when we're so busy? We were so fucking busy being a halfway decent person to your son, you bitch. No, because tell me, he's fucking shaped like a triangle. He is somehow he is shaped like a fucking isosceles triangle. He is shaped like an upside down isosceles triangle. Tree trunk looking ass. You fucking, Fucking Dorito turd. Oh, let me guess. You're wearing cowboy boots. You gotta complete the whole look. You're probably wearing cowboy boots, in which case, just no. Go. You know what? Memphis, I'm just going to say this. Put on some orange and go to an actual parenting class. If you're going to not look this good, no disrespect to the artist, though. The artist of the game, this is actually really good art. No. You would not look good in orange. Memphis, you would not look good in orange. So, if you're going to dress like a douchebag, put on an orange t-shirt and go to a parenting class. You fucking bitch.
Please continue story, Theta.
Yeah. Let's actually continue the story. I went off a bit too much. Russell, however, seemed to be the most calm, taking just one step forward. Now, what do we have here? Why did I make him sound like a pedophile?
This becomes a roasting session with Theta.
None of us replied, which seemed to just annoy him. Hey, didn't your parents ever teach you manners? Didn't your parents teach you to not be a bitch? Oh, you're wearing 2 rings, one on your pinky, one on your middle finger. Fuck you. I have middle finger too. Fuck you. Hey, didn't your parents ever teach you manners? His eyes seemed to hone in on Roswell, looking him over. Hey, you Oswald's kid?
No?
Where is he?
Who?
He made no attempt to hide the fact he had a gun, in fact pointing it right at Roswell. Not gonna ask again. Where's the pig?
Well, I know I'm here. My mom is probably at home. I suppose the only other pig you could be wanting to know about is back at his house.
Roswell! Now's not the time! But that's the thing, you probably don't wear cowboy boots. You probably wear good sleigh boots. I'm not above shooting people. In fact, did it already today and my finger is itching to pull that trigger again, so give me an excuse.
Fine, you want Oswin? He's back at the house. Follow this road up and, well, there he is.
And the butler? He's, Memphis put his gun on me, lazily rolling it from being pointed at Roswell to me, and immediately I put my hands up.
Hey, Benson is at the house too. No need to shoot anyone.
Anyone else, you mean? But let's go take a walk. Start walking back to the house and I don't need to shoot anyone. I looked to Roswell and then to Haas, and it looked like Haas was about to break. His eyes were glued to the gun pointed at me and started making odd whimpering sounds. Why didn't the text-to-speech work? I said move! Roswell and I took a few steps back, but when Haas didn't move, Memphis moved his gun to aim right at him. You want a bullet in your head? Happy to put one there and a few other places free of charge. So get the fuck up now and start moving or we're going to have problems. Okay, you know what? Now you've gone too far. Now you have actually gone too far. So I'm going to give you a little sign to wear, Memphis. If that even is your real name, you fucking... whatever the fuck your name is.
Yeah.
Because it's fucking... it's giving douchebag energy. Oh my god, Alrighty, there we go. You're going to wear that sign, Memphis. Haas collapsed, starting to cry and wailing. He looked scared, tail tucked between his legs. I thought he was going to be shot. That was until Roswell stepped in and got Memphis' attention again.
You want the time machine? Fine, take it. Just leave Haas alone.
Memphis straightened and looked to Roswell, keeping his gun trained on Haas. My eyes went to his finger, threatening to pull the trigger. Was going to take it anyway.
Good luck doing it without the key. Kill Haas and you may as well kill off us because you'll never be able to use it until you get it.
The hell do I need a key for?
It's a vault, isn't it?
Racist bully pedo dogshit, tin can shaped, who only works at Denny's, douche nozzle, small dick big ego head ass.
Go off, Amethyst.
You should know that every door has a key that keeps it closed. You want to go inside the time machine? You're going to need the key, and finding it is going to be hard with us dead.
Tell me where it is or I will shoot him.
Go right ahead, but if you do, my lips are sealed.
He pulled out the bag of candy and rolled a piece between his fingers, the orange wrapper glinting slightly. I was horrified. Unable to speak, but feeling my arms wobble as I held them in the air. Was Roswell really gambling with our lives here? Thanatos was broken, he knew that, so if he wasn't the key, what was? Unless it was a bluff. You, hyena, grab the lion. I rushed over to Haas's side and helped him up. Immediately he clung to me and sobbed into my shoulder. I know. I'm sorry, but seeing Haas cry genuinely, like, seeing any character cry genuinely breaks my heart. Like, okay, I'm going to go off on a tangent. Whenever I see a character crying, like, okay, do you know about the artist The Perp? Do you know about him? Like, Full Perp, The Perp, do you know about him? He did this one comic that describes, now he was describing it about himself, but he describes exactly what I am like with crying characters. Like, hey, this character, he's like, "Aw, so cute," and then he gets stabbed in the chest. He's like, "What? Do it again." And that's exactly what I'm like. Now, see, I don't like seeing Haas cry. I don't like seeing any of the characters cry, but quite frankly, it's like, it stabs me in the chest with emotions, and I'm like, do it again. I should probably seek professional help. I rushed over to Haas's side and helped him up. Immediately, he clung to me and sobbed into my shoulder. Memphis then pointed his gun at Roswell and gestured with his head to start heading back to the house. Like, yeah. Memphis then pointed his... Yeah. It was a slow march where Roswell marched forward with Haas and I following behind, Memphis behind us. Though he got impatient with the pace we were going at and shoved us aside, I kept foolishly following. Maybe it was the fear of being shot, maybe it was because I didn't want to continue to the road to find out who he had already shot. We got within the view of the house and Haas collapsed against a tree, barely able to stand. Kept looking towards Memphis's gun, and my assumption was that he couldn't process anything else. I'm going to stop for a little bit for the ad. I'm going to get a drink. Real quick. I fucking hate Memphis. I fucking hate him. Got it. Move. Memphis's attention was on Haas again, and Roswell piped up quickly, holding that same piece of candy in his hand with the bag in the other.
Do you think that threatening people with guns actually works?
No words came from Memphis's mouth, but I could see his jaw clench.
I mean, if you're going to shoot at all, I imagine you would have shot me at the very least, but given you hadn't done that, well...
Try me. He strode over to Roswell and placed the gun right between his eyes, resting right against his fur.
Oh no! Big Boss Dragon willing to shoot his only way of getting what's inside the house. Well, there goes my plan.
Roswell!
If I'm about to be shot, though, can I at least have some candy?
Fucking Roswell slaying so hard. Using his spare hand, Memphis wiped the bag from Roswell and shoved him again with the gun. No more games. Move.
Spoil sport.
Started to move again, and I dragged Haas along. Hoswell. 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 God damn it. He started to move again, and I dragged Haas along even if it was slow. The front door opened, and the front door continued to get closer, and I wondered what was going to happen. If anything, Haas seemed to be recovering enough that he was able to walk, though he was silent, expression vacant. The whole walk up, Roswell would occasionally throw another jab at Memphis, but didn't get shot. If anything, Memphis' attention was solely on Roswell, and I wondered if that was an opening for Haas and I to get to safety. Just shy of the steps leading up to the front door, Roswell turned around and held out his hand.
Before we go any further, I'd like my candy back, please.
This? Oh, hiya. Memphis turned it over in his hand with a smirk, gulped down the contents of the whole bag, not bothering to unwrap them. Too bad, nothing to give back, kid. Now give me that key, and... Roswell started to chuckle, backing up a few steps.
Sure, I'll go get the key.
Memphis clutched his front, brow furrowed. Something felt wrong, and I started to back up, though Haas was slower to do so. He was doing it on his own. Shakily, he put his sights on Roswell, gun ready to shoot. What was in that?
Candy.
Listen here, you little shit.
I'm serious. Maybe not good candy, but it was absolutely something I was banking on you eating.
I could see the embers start to crackle from the corners of Memphis's mouth, and the moment they did, Memphis grumbled with pain. Half crumpling into himself, he fell to a knee, though still had enough size on us that it didn't change all that much. One more step backward, and he picked up that we were getting further away, lashing out and grabbing Haas and digging in his claws, gun pointed right up under his chin. Think I'm fucking around you, you...
Dave, get down!
Huh? Oh, shit. Memphis literally popped off. He literally popped. The embers around Memphis's mouth grew, flashed bright before everything seemed to happen at once. My body felt hot and I was thrown backwards, landing heavy on the ground. My ears were ringing, my head hurt, and I struggled to stay conscious, let alone open my eyes. The overwhelming smell of fire, charred flesh, and fur made me sick, but I had nothing to give in the moments right now before I passed out, unsure if I was ever going to wake again. In that black haze following what happened, I remember the horrified expression Haas had. Either from the gun or the impending explosion, or both, I'd never get the answer to. Memphis didn't even seem to know what was about to happen, but Roswell did. He'd planned it. This contingency, this way to deal with Memphis, still ended up getting us all in danger. When I next opened my eyes, the smell was still suffocating me. It was on my clothes, my fur, and while my head was ringing, I seemed fine enough. I tried to push myself up, but it was a struggle. Settling for laying on my side so I could process what I was looking at. The air was cold and the night sky was dark. Hours must have passed with me being unconscious on the lawn. A feeling of nausea returned as I saw chunks of flesh and blood in the spot where Memphis had a Haas. Some scraps of fabric were still visible from their clothes, all three of them. Scraps of fabric that were once purple, parts of what I assumed were once a red bandana. Had the blast really happened? Had it really killed Memphis but also taken Haas along with him? What about Roswell? Finally, I threw up after pushing myself up onto all fours, and I started to crawl away. I needed to get inside, somewhere away from all the blood and gore. The moment I was through the door, I collapsed behind it, resting back against the wall and trying to settle my stomach. I considered tearing off my clothes just to not be covered in blood, but I couldn't muster the strength. I do not understand. Just hearing that voice again made me stand up, patting down my pockets to check for the rat I'd left in the dining room. I do not understand why. Inching forward towards the voice, I could tell it was a struggle for him to speak, or at the very least his normal voice had static in it, like he was still broken. I approached the door to the dining room carefully. Maybe he just woken up and was confused as to what had happened. As I stumbled into the dining room, I stopped in my tracks when I realized he was standing there.
Hello, Dave.
He looked as if he was trembling even while standing there, staring in my direction, but gaze unfocused. Roswell, what's going on? But then why was I... Should we tell him? Tell me what?
It's over. This is the best that,
The best? I struggled to understand. How could this be the best of anything? How could anything that could have happened be considered even good?
This is a win, right?
We won? Because Memphis is... dead? What about the others? They're dead too. I flinched, gaze flicking away only to settle on me properly.
But this outcome...
Thanatos scrambled up Roswell's sleeve and stood on his shoulder much like he did with me. Roswell registered he was there and flashed him a smile, though weak.
Keeping you alive, Dave, that's what everything has been about.
From the very beginning, or close enough to, anyway.
When you threw him from the stairs, I was worried that he wouldn't be brought back to see this, but I got him working again. Enough.
I don't understand, What's happening? What did you want to happen now?
I'm going to need you to do one last thing, Thanatos. I need you to delete your memory of this timeline. Maybe anything that gets close to it, too.
What is happening? You're just going to... But...
He's the Vault, Dave. He remembers all this for us. And next time around can make sure you survive again. Or at least remember enough to repeat the pattern anyway.
If that's what you feel is best.
Please, you need to forget this so that there's a chance that,
Thanatos was set back on the table and fell quiet, the light in his eyes dimming, leaving just Roswell and I looking at one another.
Dave, this was the best we could do, right?
Roswell, everyone else is dead! How could this be the best? We could have just used Thanatos to remember this for next time, right? Maybe he could have given us a vision or warning or something.
I don't understand. Isn't this what I thought was the best?
Roswell, our friends died. Was it you? Were you the one that killed Benson too?
Everyone dies, Dave. If you die, everyone else does, which is why nothing else matters. It can't.
Says who?
Thanatos.
And if he's lying, if he's tricking you? Roswell's eyes widened slightly, if only for a brief while, before they looked over to where Thanatos was sitting on the table. Did you see it? He looked back to me, trembling again.
Memphis, guns don't work. Nothing does, so I tried.
But he still killed Haas. It's like you don't even care. His hands were slack at his sides, the emotion in his face draining away from worry and shock into nothing. Not sadness or joy or anything else, just nothing.
I've seen it so many times, Dave. You die and everyone else dies, so any result that ends with you alive is at least one more person.
You're exaggerating.
I'm not. Literally, you die and everyone else does.
So what, you're telling me to just give up? Just let your friends die?
Well, no, but...
And now you've deleted Thanatos' memory. How is he meant to help us? How is he meant to remember so he can give us visions of this?
But...
This is what you wanted? Orlando, Tyson, Dean, and Sal, finally Haas, not to mention Benson and Oswin? He began to sway, trembling more. I got out Benson's gun and I held it at my side. Couldn't bring myself to point it at him or fire. He watched the guns, hands twitching enough to start to leave his pockets before I just put the gun down on the table.
You're not going to take it out on me?
What's the point? It's not going to bring back the others.
Then what are you going to do?
I don't know. There's nothing left for me here. There's nothing left anywhere.
Dave,
Save it. I don't care. Yeah, you saved me, but what's the point?
What's the point? You're alive.
And alone. The words seemed to hit something in Roswell. Shock, maybe, but he collapsed into the chair closest to him, looking across at Thanatos. Roswell? No response, though I could tell his breathing was slowing, eyelids growing heavy. When he rested his head on the table, I assumed he was just exhausted rather than dead, but I didn't bother to check. The trembling stopped, but his hand was outstretched towards the rat. I turned to leave, taking one last look around. This place had far too many memories for me to want to stay any longer than necessary. The house was quiet. Everyone under its roof except for me was likely dead. It was a cold feeling, a lonely feeling, but not in a bad way. Not in a good way either, just that there was a space that was once filled and now empty. A space that it felt like I was only dirtying up the longer I stood around. Maybe Roswell was right, maybe he was wrong. But my head was already doing things to keep me moving forward. Somewhere in the back of my mind I was freaking out, thinking about everyone who was dead. Why I was the last one alive. What was going to happen next? I had my phone, so I wandered over the yard. Towards the driveway. Each step felt painful. Deep down, my heart was breaking, but I wouldn't know it until much later. Everyone was dead. Every last one of my friends gone, just like that. Felt like I was going to collapse by the time I hit the main road. Not really knowing how I was going to cross the gap didn't even register as a problem in favor of noticing someone sitting off to the side. I had to blink to make sure I wasn't hallucinating. Carefully I approached, wondering if they were two or dead or they were just sleeping. Sal? Dave? Oh, Dave, you're alive! So are you! What happened? Why are you... My eyes trailed down his front to see where he had his shirt wrapped around his leg. It was blood-soaked, but far better off than I was. You've been shot! I'm in pain, but I'm alive, which is a blessing. Wait, so that means Memphis shot you? He did. And Dean? Clinging to hope, I really wanted the next words out of Sal's mouth to be something to the tune of him getting help. But a shaky finger was raised and then directed to the opposite side of the road. Sal, he's... Memphis threw him over the edge. It stopped me mid-stride and I immediately didn't want to go looking over the edge to confirm. He told me to stay put. And that he'd collect me on the way back. That I'd make a good replacement for Jack and Dominic after they ran off. I took a step back, closing my eyes, and tried to blot out the idea of Dean being thrown to his death. What that would have looked like. What he would have felt. Dave, what happened? Where are the others? They're dead, Sal. But what happened? Memphis happened, then Roswell happened. I backed up until I was beside him again, falling to the ground and hugging my knees. Tears were already rolling down my cheeks before I could get more words out. He tricked Memphis into eating a bomb. But that means... And Haas was right next to Memphis. I couldn't wipe away the tears fast enough, and soon enough I felt Sal's arm around my shoulders. The moment he touched me, though, I wailed, the dam breaking further, and I just let it all out. Even through my crying, I could tell he was grieving in the same way. Our friends were gone, but we weren't alone, as tragic as it was. Dave, I need to ask a favor of you. Yeah? I was able to tend to my wound as best as I could with my shirt, but I'm going to need a proper doctor. To get that, we're going to need to secure some help. Yeah. Do you think you could make it? Both looked over the gap in the road. Looked like a tough climb, and I wasn't sure. I'm not saying go now or even go far, just far enough that you could call for help potentially. Okay. He tightly grabbed my wrist, stopping me from getting up. Breathe, Dave. It'll be alright for a bit longer, so go when you're ready. Nodding slowly, I settled in next to him to try and get my breathing under control. If anything, though, I kept thinking of the others. What was going to happen with the prospect of home being so close? The danger was gone with Memphis Jack and Dominic all dead, or that's what I assumed. Are you sure you'll be okay? I'll be cold, but that's about it. Might come down with something depending how long it takes, but I'll live. That doesn't sound great. There's no alternative, Dave. I'll be fine. We locked eyes for a moment, and I eventually nodded slowly, turning to the climb before me. Take as long as you need. Don't rush on my account. With a deep breath, I started my climb, hands shaky, one step at a time. Occasionally looking back to Sal to make sure he was alright. He was watching, occasionally giving me a nod, though as it got darker, it became harder and harder to make out his features. But sure enough, eventually my feet found solid ground once again. Sal! I made it! I'm gonna go get help! Be safe. I stuck to the cliff as I started to wander at a hastened pace down the mountain. Following the road, every now and again I would check my phone, hoping for a signal to show up. And somewhere near the end of the road, in the middle of the night... Huh? A signal?! Staring at the screen, I could see the bars at the top showing I had reception again. Part of me was scared to do anything in case I lost him, but I dialed someone who I knew might be able to help. The phone started to ring, but it felt like there wasn't going to be an answer. Hello? Officer Parker? It's Dave. David's son? Oh, I wonder why the voice was familiar. What can I do for you? Everything alright? Sorry for calling so late, but, I'm in trouble. A lot of trouble. How much trouble is a lot of trouble? I looked around the empty road, the forest stretching out around the intersection where we had turned off at the start of the month. Dave, you still there? Yeah, sorry, it's just been hard. Are you hurt? Yeah. Alright, tell me where you are and I'll get an ambulance sorted. Wait, I need one for Sal too. He's been shot, but the road is out, so... Is Sal alright, Dave? Yeah, he patched himself up, but... Alright, here's what's going to happen. I want you to tell me what happened while you wait here for the ambulance, okay? And that's what happened. I told him everything after he had called me back after arranging for an ambulance. He was quiet most of the time, but assured me that things were going to be okay. The ambulance arrived and they took me up the mountain to save me that walk. Shortly after, additional help arrived and they were able to get Sal to the ambulance and we rode together to the hospital. It took Sal a few days to get out of the hospital and I only left the once to have a shower and change my clothes after it became too hard to ignore. All things considered, things could have been worse. A lot of his stay was just monitoring, Memphis having missed any major arteries. Dave, I'm fine, really. I know, but... Sorry, I understand. I just feel bad with you fussing so much when there's not much more we can do. I guess so, yeah. Has there been any word about the house? Nothing yet. I just hope I get something soon. Anything would do, just... I want them home. Dave, you're not suppressing things, are you? Maybe. Probably. It just doesn't feel real still. I'm still expecting that when I get home, Tyson will be there, or that I'll get a phone call from Orlando, or, you know. Yeah, were things different, tomorrow would have lined up to the day I go bowling with Dean, but I suppose he won't be coming now. He sighed, rubbing his face as I came to sit next to him. I'm going to miss them, Sal. He took my hand and once more started to cry, squeezing his hand back. We'll miss them together, as long as it takes for it not to hurt. 1 year later. And that's about all you've missed so far, just still hanging in there like you'd want me to. I lightly patted the ground in front of me, looking up at the gravestone with a wry smile. Still have to talk to the others, but I'll be back again before you know it, alright? Looking to the gravestone next to it, I chuckled slightly and got up. Wandering closer until I was able to gently touch the stone, I sighed. Dad, you'll look after Tyson for me, right? Looking back at Tyson's grave buried next to Dad, the name Tyson Halloway carved into the surface. His dad didn't even bother showing up to the funeral, all while selfish of me to choose what to have on the stone. It felt right. How are they? Sal wandered up from further down the row, the direction of where the others had been buried. Good. I was just about to come and find you, actually. So soon? We're not in any rush. No, it's fine, really. If you're sure. I nodded quickly, smiling warm if briefly. Come on, it's probably better that we move on anyway. They wouldn't want either of us to just not try and live happy lives. Deep down I knew I was going to spend the rest of the day on my best lethargic, not wanting to move and probably crying game, but at least I was functional for the most part. Different from how things were when Dad died, but it still hit me hard whenever we visited the graveyard. Well, I'm going to go visit at the very least. You don't have to come, I know. Sorry, just I'll go say hi to Orlando next. I'm still feeling odd about it all. After what you saw, I don't blame you. Sal wandered away as I lingered near Dad's grave. I hadn't told him exactly what Roswell had told me the last time I'd spoken to him. Part of me struggled to believe he was behind everything. Maybe he was only taking credit just so I had something to cling to. Not that it mattered. By the time the police had made it to the house to confirm what bodies were there, I found Roswell already dead. Went to the funeral, we both did, but I couldn't bring myself to go visit his grave. All that remained of what happened were a bunch of bodies and unanswered questions. We never got all the answers either. With a lot of them being lost, the more people died. Sal and I eventually moved in together and fell into a routine of sorts, which helped. It wasn't the same as having a big friend group, but together we found comfort in knowing how the other felt. Every now and again, we'd notice a few things here and there, too. The streets seemed quieter, perhaps safer with Memphis gone. But they also seemed sadder without the common occurrences we had in our lives for the vacation to fill our days. No Dean to have coffee with, no Haas to watch anime with, nothing. Kept wondering just how things were meant to play out. If I'd done everything I could, if everything I could meant that there was a way more people could have survived. Roswell's words echoed in my head, saying that I was the reason everyone died if I died, meaning I had to survive. Sal's take on it when I eventually told him was that Roswell had the right idea, that his heart was in the right place, but the way he handled it was awful. Years ticked by and I still didn't know what the right call was. Was he right or wrong? How much pain had to be inflicted for it to still be necessary? If he orchestrated things, did he set up Tyson turning into a werewolf? Did he make Orlando go outside? Did he call the Mafia to show up? There were going to be questions that I never got the answer to, and over time I stopped looking for the answers. My friends wouldn't want me to live my life stuck in the past. I'd remember them and I'd be happy, for their sake. And that is everything. Resonate? No. And almost we have fuck. Hang on. I gotta recreate a save. A save that I forgot to do. No, we still have 2 more paths for Orlando's route. We still have 2 more paths and we gotta get through all this. Yeah. What are those paths? You know what? I'll create the saves later. I'll create them later. We still have paths C and E. We have paths C and path E. Those are the only 2 paths left. Yeah. We already finished path G, like, let me pull it up. Yeah, we already finished it. Here, right there, path G. Yeah. But after we finish Orlando's entire route, then it'll mostly be smooth from there. Anyways, stay safe, have a good night, and I will see you all tomorrow.